This warning is not for everyone. Stop, slow down for a moment and listen with your full attention. What you are about to hear is not entertainment. It is not motivation. It is not another inspirational message you scroll past and forget by tomorrow. This is a warning. And warnings are not sent to everyone. If this message feels heavy the moment it reaches you, if something inside you tightens, not with fear but with recognition, that isn't coincidence. That is discernment waking up. This message is not meant for the masses. It is not for casual listeners. It is not for people who drift through life without consequence. This warning is for a very specific group of people, the ones who have always known deep down that their life was different, heavier, harder, marked. This is for the ones who have felt out of place since childhood, the ones who could never fully blend in, no matter how hard they tried, the ones who were misunderstood, underestimated, or quietly resented without ever knowing why. You didn't choose that life. It chose you. You've walked through things that should have broken you. You've survived seasons that would have crushed other people completely, loss that rewired you, betrayals that aged your soul, delays that tested your faith, pressure that forced you to grow before you were ready. And somehow, against all odds, you are still here. That is not random. People like you are not common. And because of that, the rules are different for you. The tests are sharper. The attacks are more calculated. The consequences are heavier. And the calling on your life is not something you can casually step into without resistance. This warning is not sent to people who live on autopilot. It's sent to people with destiny. If you've ever felt like life keeps putting you through unnecessary trials, if you've asked yourself why it seems harder for you than for everyone else, if you've wondered why you can't just live a simple, quiet, ordinary life, it's because ordinary was never the assignment. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And preparation always feels like isolation before it feels like purpose. This is for the ones who have outgrown places, people, habits, and versions of themselves, and paid a painful price for that growth. The ones who had to walk away from what was familiar without immediately knowing where they were going. The ones who chose healing over comfort, truth over belonging, growth over approval. You didn't lose people. You outgrew them. You didn't miss opportunities. You were being redirected. You didn't fall behind. You were being refined. And that refinement is exactly why this warning matters. Because when you are this close to transition, when you are standing at the edge between who you were and who you are becoming, that is when tests appear that are designed to pull you backward, not violently, not obviously, but gently, persuasively, disguised as relief. That is why this message found you now, not last month, not next week, but right here, right before the moment that matters. Most people never get warned. They walk straight into the test without knowing it was a test. They make the wrong choice and spend years trying to recover from a single moment of weakness. They don't understand what went wrong, only that everything suddenly stalled. But you are being given an advantage, awareness. And awareness is protection. If you're hearing this, it's because your future is valuable enough to defend. Your destiny is significant enough to require a warning. What you carry is important enough that it cannot be left unguarded. That should tell you something about who you are. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not late. You are positioned. And this next phase of your life will require a level of discernment you have never needed before. So, before we go any further, you need to decide something internally, not emotionally, not impulsively, but deliberately. Are you willing to hear truth even if it makes you uncomfortable? Are you willing to resist something that feels good if it leads you backward? Are you willing to protect your future, even when your past tries to pull you in? Because this warning will only help those who are willing to take it seriously. If that's you, then stay with me, because what's coming next explains exactly what the test is, why it's showing up now, and how to recognize it before it costs you everything you worked so hard to become. The test you will not see coming? Now listen carefully, because this is where most people lose everything. Not because they are weak, but because they are unaware. The danger that is approaching is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is not destructive on the surface. In fact, if you are not paying attention, you will mistake it for an answer to prayer. This is not an attack that comes through obvious chaos. It comes through familiarity. What is coming will feel comfortable before it feels dangerous. It will feel relieving before it feels costly. It will feel right before it proves wrong. And that is exactly why it works. On the day of the test, something from your past will resurface. Not accidentally, not randomly. Not because of coincidence, but because timing is a weapon. And this timing is intentional. It may come through a person you already know, someone who once mattered, someone who once hurt you, someone you thought you were done with, someone who suddenly appears different, softer, more self-aware, more apologetic. They may say the words you waited years to hear. They may show up with the behavior you begged for back then. They may promise closure, change, or a second chance. And the dangerous part is not that they return. The danger is that a part of you still wants to believe them. Or it may come through an opportunity, a door that once closed, a path that once failed, a deal that once collapsed. Now it returns, polished, improved, better presented. It looks more stable, more legitimate, more aligned. And because you are tired of delays, tired of waiting, tired of watching others move ahead while you feel paused, it will feel like relief. But relief is not the same as alignment, or the test may come through a pattern, a habit you thought you defeated, a mindset you worked hard to outgrow, a coping mechanism you used when life felt unbearable. It will whisper, just this once. It won't control you anymore. You're stronger now. And that voice will sound reasonable. Here is the truth you must hold on to. Anything that requires you to go backward to feel better is not progress. It is regression in disguise. What is being offered is not new. It is familiar energy wearing a new costume. It is the same trap repackaged for the version of you that exists now. And this is where the test becomes dangerous, because this version of you is wiser, more healed, more aware. So the trap has to be smarter. It will not come as destruction. It will come as permission. Permission to rest in something familiar. Permission to stop resisting. Permission to believe that this time will be different. But understand this clearly. If it were truly different, it would not need to come from your past. The past does not carry your future. The past only carries lessons. And when lessons return as opportunities, it is not a blessing. It is an exam. This is the moment where many people unknowingly reset their own growth. Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly. They reconnect, they re-engage, they reopen a door, and over time they feel their peace drain, their clarity blur, their momentum stall. They cannot explain what went wrong, only that something shifted. That is the cost of failing this test. The reason this test appears now is because you are no longer who you used to be. You have healed enough that the enemy can no longer attack you directly. You have grown enough that old tactics no longer work. So instead of pushing you forward into destruction, the strategy is to pull you backward into familiarity. Backward feels safer than forward when you are tired. Backward feels easier than waiting when you are exhausted. Backward feels tempting when the future still feels uncertain. That is why this moment matters. This test is not about whether you are strong. It is about whether you are discerning. Strength resists force. Discernment recognizes deception. And deception is always most effective when it feels gentle. If you fail this test, it will not be because you wanted to ruin your life. It will be because you wanted relief. And that is why you must remember this. The thing that brings immediate relief, but long-term confusion, is never from God. What is meant for you will not require you to betray your growth. It will not require you to silence your intuition. It will not require you to become smaller than who you fought to become. So, when this test appears, you must pause, not react, not rush. Pause. Because the moment you pause, you break the spell, and in that pause, you will realize something important. If you have to convince yourself it's okay, it's not. What is truly aligned does not need justification. It brings clarity, not confusion. It brings peace, not internal conflict. This test is subtle. It is emotional. It is personal. And that is why awareness is your greatest protection. Now that you know what is coming, the power shifts. Because traps only work when they are hidden. And this one is no longer hidden from you. How to recognize the trap before it closes. Now we move into the most important part of this message. Because knowing that a test is coming is not enough. You must know how to recognize it in real time, while it is happening, before it locks you in. This is where discernment becomes survival. Understand this first. The test will not announce itself. There will be no warning label, no obvious sign that says, "This is dangerous." If it were obvious, it would not work. Instead, it will feel reasonable. It will sound logical. It will make sense on the surface. That is why so many people fail here. So listen carefully to these signs. Not one of them alone, but the pattern they form together. The first sign is urgency. Anything that pressures you to decide immediately is not aligned. If something suddenly appears and you are told you must act now, respond now, commit now, before you lose it, that is manipulation. True alignment never rushes you. What is meant for you does not panic when you pause. What is real does not disappear when you pray. What is solid does not demand speed to survive. Urgency is used to bypass your intuition. It is designed to keep you from slowing down long enough to feel what your spirit already knows. If the situation cannot survive a pause, it cannot be trusted. The second sign is internal conflict. Pay close attention here. If your emotions feel excited but your inner sense feels uneasy, do not ignore that. If your mind is listing reasons why it could work, but your body feels tense, heavy, unsettled, that is not anxiety. That is discernment. Peace does not argue with itself. When something is aligned, there is clarity, even if the path is challenging. But deception always creates noise inside you. Your thoughts race. You justify. You explain. You overthink. You try to convince yourself. And anything that requires convincing is already wrong. The third sign is compromise. This one is subtle, but deadly. If what is being offered requires you to lower your standards, blur your boundaries, silence your values, or ignore what you promised yourself you would never accept again, stop. Alignment does not ask you to betray your growth. You did not fight that hard to heal just to tolerate what once destroyed you. If you hear yourself saying, "I'll just make an exception," understand what that really means. Exceptions reopen doors you work to close. The fourth sign is backward movement. Look at the direction, not the packaging. Does this pull you back toward an old version of yourself? Does it reconnect you with a chapter you already closed? Does it feel familiar in a way that drains your energy instead of expanding it? Growth moves forward. Anything that pulls you backward, no matter how gently, is not part of your future. The fifth sign is secrecy. This is one of the clearest indicators. If you feel the urge to hide it, to keep it to yourself, to not tell the people who truly know you, ask yourself why. Truth does not fear exposure. What is meant for you can be spoken out loud. It can be shared. It can be examined. But traps require isolation. Isolation makes you negotiable. And when you are alone with your thoughts, you can justify almost anything. This is why accountability feels uncomfortable when temptation is present, because it breaks the illusion. Now, here is something critical you must understand. None of these signs will scream at you. They whisper. That is why you must be honest with yourself. The moment you feel yourself explaining instead of feeling, rationalizing instead of resting, defending instead of trusting, pause. Pausing is power. The moment you pause, the emotional pull weakens, because deception feeds on momentum. Slow it down, and it loses control. And here is the truth many people don't want to hear. If this opportunity, person, or pattern were truly from God, it would bring peace without pressure. It would not require urgency. It would not require secrecy. It would not require compromise. It would confirm what you already know, not confuse you into silence. So, if you are standing in a moment where your spirit feels quiet but firm, where something inside you says, "This isn't right," even though everything looks good, listen to that voice. That voice is not fear. It is protection. And the people who ignore it don't lose everything instantly. They lose it slowly. They lose clarity first, then peace, then momentum, until one day they realize they are far from where they were meant to be, and they cannot pinpoint the exact moment it happened. This is that moment, and now you know how to recognize it, which means you are no longer powerless. In the next part, I will show you what is at stake, what happens if you pass this test, and what it costs if you don't. Because once you see the outcome clearly, the choice becomes unavoidable. What happens if you pass, and if you don't? Now we come to the part most people avoid, because this is where the truth becomes uncomfortable. Every test has consequences, not emotional consequences, not symbolic ones, real outcomes. What you choose in this moment does not just affect today. It alters momentum. It shifts timelines. It determines whether the next season opens or stalls. So you need to see both paths clearly. First, what happens if you pass this test? If you recognize the trap and say no, if you resist what feels familiar but wrong, something breaks. The resistance ends. Doors that have stayed shut begin to open without force. Opportunities stop requiring manipulation. Things that felt delayed suddenly move, not because you tried harder, but because alignment returned. Passing this test signals readiness. It tells God that you can be trusted with more responsibility, more influence, more blessing. The next level does not open to people who are talented. It opens to people who are disciplined. This is where peace changes. Not the fragile kind that depends on circumstances, but the deep, settled kind. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop replaying decisions. You stop wondering if you missed something. Clarity replaces confusion, and clarity is power. Relationships shift. The counterfeit fades. The real connections emerge. Not people who drain you, people who match your growth, who respect your boundaries, who do not trigger your wounds. You stop chasing and start attracting. Provision follows, not reckless abundance, but sustainable increase. Resources align with purpose. Money stops being a stress point. You gain stability without selling your integrity. And perhaps most importantly, your calling activates. Not in theory, not someday, in movement. You stop preparing and start operating. What you were carrying quietly begins to show itself. Your voice carries weight. Your presence has impact. Your life begins to make sense. That is the reward of passing. Now, the other path. If you fail this test, if you reopen the door, if you convince yourself that this time will be different, the cost is not immediate, but it is guaranteed. First, momentum slows. Nothing collapses overnight. Instead, things feel heavier. Progress becomes harder. What once flowed now requires effort. Then clarity fades. You begin questioning your own judgment. You doubt instincts that once protected you. You replay choices in your mind. Confidence erodes. Then peace leaves. Not dramatically, quietly. Restlessness replaces stillness. Anxiety replaces certainty. And soon you are tired again. But not from growth, from resistance. Cycles repeat. The same emotional patterns, the same disappointments, the same lessons resurfacing. And the most painful part is this. You know better. You can no longer blame ignorance. That awareness makes the delay heavier. Your purpose does not disappear, but it pauses. What could have unfolded quickly now takes longer. What could have arrived clean now requires cleanup. And finally, access is granted. Every compromised choice opens a door, not permanently, but unnecessarily. Closing it again takes time, humility, and repair. This is why this moment matters. This is not about fear. It is about stewardship. You are being trusted with a decision that protects what you are meant to carry. And here's the truth that settles it all. God does not test you to see if you will fail. He tests you to confirm that you are ready. And readiness is not proven by desire. It is proven by restraint. The choice in front of you is simple, but not easy. Comfort or calling, familiarity or future, relief or alignment. You cannot have both. In the final part, I will show you exactly how to prepare, so that when the moment comes, you do not rely on willpower alone, because preparation, not intention, is what determines victory. How you pass the test and protect your destiny. Now, we arrive at the final piece. Because awareness without action still leads to failure. Knowing a test is coming does not mean you will pass it. Feeling inspired does not mean you are prepared. Preparation is what separates the people who fall from the ones who cross over. So, listen closely. You do not pass this test by being strong in the moment. You pass it by deciding before the moment ever arrives. The first thing you must do is pray in advance. Not a casual prayer, not vague words, specific prayer. You ask for discernment before the decision appears. You ask for strength before temptation knocks. You ask for clarity before confusion shows up. If you wait until you are emotionally pulled, you are already late. Preparation always happens in calm moments, not emotional ones. The second thing you must do is pre-decide. This is critical. You decide now what your answer will be, not later, not when it feels easier. You decide that anything pulling you backward is a no. Anything requiring compromise is a no. Anything that brings urgency instead of peace is a no. When emotions rise, you will default to what you have already decided. That is how discipline protects destiny. The third thing you must do is involve accountability. Isolation is the enemy's favorite environment. So you choose one person, someone grounded, wise, honest, and you tell them the truth. You tell them what you might face. You tell them where you feel vulnerable. You give them permission to remind you who you are. Accountability does not weaken you, it strengthens you. The fourth thing you must do is create distance. You do not test yourself unnecessarily. If a person is likely to reach out, you block access. If an environment triggers you, you avoid it. If a habit tempts you, you remove it. Willpower is unreliable. Environment is powerful. Wise people don't rely on strength alone. They remove temptation. The fifth thing you must do is remember your pain honestly, not emotionally, truthfully. You remember why you left. You remember what it cost. You remember how long it took to heal. Nostalgia lies. Memory tells the truth. The sixth thing you must do is focus forward. You write down what you are moving toward, the life you are building, the peace you are protecting, the calling you are stepping into. When the moment comes, you do not stare at what you are losing. You look at what you are becoming. Now, hear this clearly. This warning is not about fear. It is about love. You are not being threatened. You are being protected. The reason this test exists is because you are close. The reason the warning came is because what you carry matters. Heaven does not guard insignificant futures. So, before this message ends, make a declaration, not to impress anyone, not for appearance, for alignment. Say it, even quietly, I will not go backward. I will not trade my future for relief. I will pass this test. Declarations anchor decisions. And when the moment arrives, you will remember this moment. You will remember that you were warned. You were prepared. You were ready. This is not the day you fall. This is the day you stand. This is not the moment you lose progress. This is the moment you prove it was real. You have come too far to turn back now. Choose your future, protect your destiny, and step forward without regret.